we'll go ahead and get started. We have numerous participants here with us, and just want to give everybody a welcome, season's greetings from BVA National Headquarters, and welcome to this very first ever virtual town hall, originating from Alexandria, Virginia. It's a snowy day here, by the way. My name's Stuart Nelson, and I'm just going to get things kind of kicked off here. I'll be coming back on periodically to introduce some additional people. We're going to kind of go three at a time. And I just want to thank Kylie Fitzgerald. She's behind the scenes kind of managing the Zoom. In addition to our Mid-Atlantic people, we will hear from representation in Texas, from the South and North Carolina and Georgia, from Oklahoma in the Midwest, and from Washington State and Arizona in the far west. So we have every region of the country represented. This is hopefully going to be productive and a little bit of fun as well. Thanks to all of you who've joined us through the Zoom link or by dialing in by telephone. So the format for today will be a series of short briefings and greetings from a few members of our BVA Board of Directors, a few of our national headquarters staff, and from special interest groups, in which we've also grouped the National Auxiliary and the National Chaplain. And what we'll do is announce, as I mentioned, 3 presentations at a time, and in the correct order so that everyone will know who's up next, but you won't have to remember all. We have about 10 altogether. You won't have to remember them all at once. So I'll just kind of go 3 at a time. At the very end of today's town hall, we hope to have some question and answer time still remaining at the end, and we'll try to budget our time so that happens. What's worked for us in our Zoom sessions this fall, and the ones we had back in August, is for the questioner to use the raise hand function in Zoom, if that's possible. And then we can call on that person. And then you have to mute or unmute yourself. The other option is to post your question in the chat function, and then I can ask that question. But we'll touch on this again at that point. It's slightly more complicated when you're just on a telephone call, but you can also ask questions on the phone. So to kick this off for this afternoon, we plan to go directly to our BVA National Chaplain, Dr. Ron Lester in Tucson, Arizona, for some opening words and an invocation, as I understand it. We'll then pass the baton to National President Dr. Tom Zampieri of Pearland, Texas, and he'll be followed by National Vice President Joe McNeil of Columbus, Georgia. So we have Dr. Lester, Dr. Zampieri, and Joe McNeil, the first 3 up. Dr. Lester, are you on? Were you able to make it? I do not see or hear him. Tom, would you like to go ahead and start, and we'll see if we can get Dr. Lester to
sure
maybe after you go. I don't know if he's having some problems. I did talk to him just before the meeting, and I thought we were all set, but we'll see if he comes on.
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah. If once you get him connected with us, just let us know, and we'll be sure to fit him in.
Okay.
Instead, or if
you the audio now unmuted.
Whoop. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, we got you.
Oh, okay. I thought, yeah.
Yeah, there was some noise from somewhere, but you're good.
Okay. All right.
Thank
you. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you're calling in from. As national president, as Stuart said, we wanted to kind of do this as a town hall to sort of go over things that happened in 2020. And, the BVA committees, I want to thank them. They've been really active working on a lot of different projects for the association. The board has stepped up and we're looking at a lot of different activities. Special thanks to our staff. Stuart and Kylie always are great with these virtual sessions, and hopefully we're always getting better and more of them. Starting in January, February, we hope to be able to do a couple sessions, each month with different types of guest speakers. It's a little challenging this past year, to say the least, with the fact that we had to cancel the convention, and we had to, even Veterans Day at Arlington National Cemetery, where we were supposed to be the official hosts for a reception, and all of that ended up being canceled. So it's been challenging, but and sort of uncharted for us, and all of our fellow veteran service organizations have also had to deal with these changes and try to do things virtually. And hopefully we'll continue to build on this and stay as connected as we can. I wanted to highlight that we've had I'm really happy we had some real legislative successes that Stuart has sent out news bulletins about. But to remind everybody, this year we had 3 successes in legislation that went through: the HR 4920, which was the Protecting the Ability One programs with the VA contracts. We saved literally hundreds of jobs for blind individuals because of that legislation. You've all heard, and a reminder, HR 3504, which was the Special Adaptive Housing Grant for legally blind veterans, is in the process of, being implemented. HR 1199, which was important. It was a legislation to mandate the VA improve their accessibility for not only their websites, but other communications to blind veterans. The fourth thing that sort of don't want to miss is that we also secured for FY21 $20 million again for the Department of Defense's Vision Research Program. So actually we had 4 major pieces of success legislatively. So I want to thank Jim Vale and the legislative team, Aaron, and of course Don Overton for all the hard work this year. You all know that I was Director of Government Relations for 9 years, and I've been on the legislative committee since 2013 as a board member, and it really is rare to get 4 legislative successes in a calendar year, and so I'll leave it at that. We also, I wanted to let everybody know that we are very concerned about our membership. The staff has been working very hard at looking at our membership data, and we've dropped down to 6,840 members nationally. And the sad thing is, we're losing a lot of our World War II and Korean age veterans, and that's what's impacting us. And added to that is the COVID impact. And if you know somebody that's been impacted by COVID, I know of a couple of veterans here in Texas that have passed away from COVID, and they were Vietnam era veterans. And so I'm concerned about the number. And as regional group representatives and as members at large across the system, you know, it's something that we're all going to have to work on as far as membership goes. We also, though, have had some other interesting things going on. Just so you know, this sort of falls under government relations, but we got the Pentagon and the Surgeon General of the UK to establish a joint international ocular trauma task force to look at improving treatment of battlefield eye trauma in both countries. The VA will be a participant in it, and the BVA and the Blind Veterans of the UK, we're still negotiating, or I should say the Pentagon's still working on some of the details. And we haven't, you know, done a big official press release about this yet, but it was formally established on September 29th. And so that was a reflection of our advocacy, both with the Blind Veterans of the UK and the BVA's efforts, that we were able to get that International Ocular Trauma Task Force set up. I will leave some of the details, but I just also want to congratulate the staff, and I encourage you all to keep looking at the website. And I don't mean that in the sense of just once a month or once every couple months. Please try to look at the website on a regular basis of, you know, once a week. We're making tremendous changes to it, the accessibility parts of it, the content, the way it's set up with links for more services and information. We've really done a lot to change the website and to make it, you know, user friendly, make it a resource, and provide, you know, other information. And so I wanted to touch on that. We're still collaborating with other research entities. As I said, we got the 20 million for the DoD. We work closely with the National Alliance for Eye and Vision Research. We work with the American Academy of Ophthalmology, the American Optometric Association. Don Overton now represents us with the Mississippi State University National Rehabilitative Training Center, which is a collaboration that we have with them. They do a lot of research on different types of things, such as employment, education for the blind, economic, transportation issues. So they're not a medical research center as much as they get into all the social sciences of research and how blindness impacts that. We still work closely with the Department of Defense VA Vision Center Excellence, even though we may not have a lot in our newsletters about it. We maintain a relationship with the director there, Colonel Reynolds, and the work that they're doing in regards to the eye injury registry and other things. We're also reaching out and working with the National Center for Rehabilitative Auditory Research, Oregon. It's a national VA center that's doing a lot of audiology and hearing loss research. And in the future, after the first of the year, we've engaged with them and their director. And not only are they going to start to look at some issues that we raised in regards to individuals on this call can appreciate, including myself, if you have hearing loss and vision loss, dual sensory, it's a difficult problem. And then if you combine that with a traumatic brain injury, And so they're interested, the National Center, again, on Auditory Research, in working this next year with the BVA on some specific research in the area of the sensory losses and TBI. And so look forward to hearing from them. We'll keep you, obviously, also Stuart and the team will keep you updated on what's going on in regards to the vaccines and the COVID and response in the VA. We're tracking that. And the other thing that we're doing, obviously, is our committee that works with VA Blind Rehabilitation Services. We have monthly calls with the Director of Blind Rehab Services and Dr. Mike Williams. We're closely monitoring what's going on. As you know, the 13 blind centers have continued to do telehealth and also teleconferences. A lot of the blind centers, if you haven't reached out to them, if you trained at a blind center, you may find if you reach out to the VIS there that they have a lot of educational teleconferences that they're offering. Biloxi and Hines and Long Beach and Palo Alto are all active in those types of services. 4 of the blind centers actually have a very small number of inpatients. I wanted to let everybody know that starting in October, Palo Alto and Long Beach, Tucson and Waco. Granted, these aren't very many inpatients at the blind centers. It varies between 4 to maybe 8 or 9, but there is some movement towards trying to see if they can reopen some of them for inpatient rehab at the blind centers. We are monitoring, though, that depending on the geographical impact of COVID, that some of those may have to scale back down if the VA hospitals have to admit a lot of patients with COVID. But we are working really closely with the blind rehab services and want you to know that that we'll keep everyone updated on what happens there and the upcoming months. So I wanted to keep this short. Hopefully didn't go over too much. We do have a lot of different great board members and committee chairs that are going to be, talking and updating you all. And then at the end, as Stuart said, we'll have hopefully time for some questions. I want to tell y'all, stay safe, wear a mask, wash your hands, and as hard as it is, keep your distance from folks. It just is not safe. If you're over age 65, especially, it is dangerous. And so please follow those things. Hopefully, starting after the first of the year, I think some of you may end up getting the vaccine, and let us know. I've volunteered here in Houston to be on the list of getting the vaccine, so we'll see what happens. Thank you, and I'll turn it over to Joe McNeil, our vice president, who's also chairman of our convention and education committee.
Hey, Tom, can I actually, Dr. Lester was able to make it on. I don't know if I just missed him before, but maybe could we go to him first and then,
Sure.
and then go to Joe McNeil. Dr. Lester, I think you can just go ahead. You're not on mute.
Yes.
Just go ahead.
I apologize. I was having technical trouble, and Stuart, I apologize. Your emails was going to my spam folder. We finally found them, and I apologize for that. But anyway, we want to go to prayer today, and we want to just remember a lot of the people that are, Cheryl, that is in direst need of our prayers. We just need to keep her in prayer. Others that have passed that Tom mentioned there. We have a number of people in the hospital here at Tucson. Last Friday, I think my son told me there was 26 that were inpatient with the virus. A number of them that were outpatient. We were just having being inundated with the virus, and so we really need to lift our veterans up, especially those that are over 65. I know myself, being 75, I'm very concerned about it. And I try to do everything, washing my hands and keeping my hands out of my face. That's one of the biggest challenges I have. And, being 6 foot away from somebody is almost impossible for me, especially with hard hearing and everything. It's just a real challenge. So I know that, God is still in charge. And so we just have to lean on him. And I just want to mention just a little bit about you're never too old to dream. And that's kind of, what I want to mention to each one of us, that you got to keep on dreaming. That's what life is all about. We have to have dreams. There's an old saying in the Bible that old men shall dream dreams and young men shall see visions. And we've got to keep on dreaming, because when you quit dreaming, you're going to die. So keep on dreaming. We have an interesting individual that's 91. His name is Hassel. He is going to do probably a Zoom meeting next month in January for us. He is he's got about 50 years of counseling and working with veterans and working with the public and what have you. He does an awesome job. He's always sending me emails. It blows me away how much his mind just keeps right on thinking at 91. And, and I'm just amazed. I hope when I get to 91 that I can still function as properly as he does. I know that he's got a lot of physical problems, just like a lot of us that are veterans. But anyway, we want to go to prayer and remember that we just got to keep on keeping on. Amen. And so let's just go to prayer for all of our vets, and we just lift them up right now. Father, in the name of Jesus, we just come to you, Lord, and we're so grateful, Lord, for all of the things that you've done for us. Oh, we thank you. We just ask you, Lord, right now that minister to Cheryl, Lord, minister to each one of us, those that have lost loved ones, Lord, we just lift them up, Lord. Now, I know that you're able to touch our hearts and minister by your Holy Spirit, Lord. Oh, God, we're just so grateful, Lord, for each one of these vets, Lord. We stand in the gap for them, Lord. You ask who can come and stand in the gap. And that's what we do, Lord. We're standing in the gap with our prayers. And we thank you for it, Lord, right now. We thank you for each one of these. And we just ask your blessings upon them. Bless each one, Lord, as they come and they go out, as they come in. Minister to them mightily, Lord, during this Christmas season, this new year. We just ask you, Lord, that it'll be a great year, that things will be better in 2021. We claim that miracle right now, Lord. Bless each one, Lord. Oh, thank you, Lord, for each one of them right now. In Jesus' name, thank you, Lord. Praise God. One of the things I'd like to mention, I do 2 programs on BPN radio, which is Breakout Prayer Ministries. I do a special needs watch on Thursday, and that what I do. I've talked to a lot of veterans. I've interviewed a lot of veterans. I actually have interviewed Juliana Lessinger, the chief of chaplains for the VA. That was one of my highlights in June. I just appreciate her being open and being able to interview. So I just do a lot of praying for people. That's what the program is all about, is Special Needs Watch. And if you have a need, if you know anybody that has a need, that are sick, give me an email or give me a call. I'll be glad to, contact individuals and pray with them. I know that I've prayed with a lot of veterans in the last 6 months. I appreciate the opportunity as a chaplain. That's kind of my report, but may God's blessings be upon you, that there be, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year for each one of you. Thank you for the opportunity. God bless.
Thank you, Dr. Lester, National Chaplain. Thanks very much for those words and for the prayer. We'll go to Joe McNeil now, and he'll be I'm going to go ahead and announce a couple of them after that. After Joe speaks, we'll go to Monaca Gilmore, the chairman of the Women's Veteran Group. And following Monaca, we've got Ray Hale. So those are the three up next from the Dog Handler Special Interest Group. Joe, are you with me?
I'm here.
Great.
Good afternoon, everybody. Convention committee has met. We're working on doing the convention 2 ways. Hopefully we can meet in person. The in-person portion will be the 16th to the 20th of August. We hope the vaccine is out. Everybody has taken a shot, and we're pretty sure to be on the safe side, everybody should wear a mask. Bring your own. I doubt we're going to be providing them for you. We're also going to be planning for it to be virtual. If it becomes a virtual one, we're going to try to schedule it where it goes over a 2-week time frame so that we can get all information out. The committees will be doing educational stuff, dealing with anything from the guide dog to writing bylaws, submitting bylaws, how regional groups are supposed to act. District directors will be implementing that. We'll also have field service out there talking and training for the new ambassadorship program, recruiting ambassadors. If anybody has any questions or anything they were concerned about, if you want to be added, just email me and we will try to work it in as far as the events in location. Other than that, I encourage everybody to take the vaccine if it's available to you. Stay safe. And remember, this disease does not care whether you're Republican or Democrat, black, white, green, or yellow. It's taking everybody. So mask up, wash up. Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. This is Monaca Gilmore. I am the chairman for our Women's Veterans Group of the BVA. I would like to welcome everyone to this call today, to this town hall. If none of you guys know, we have 4 committee members who consist. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we have 4 committee members that consist of Jeannie Murphy, Marlene Davis-Lilly, and Elizabeth Holmes, as well as Mashawn Harrison. I am the chairman of that group, and we work together to advocate for our women veterans. And through that process, we also have an additional member on the headquarters staff, Aaron McConnell, who will be doing a lot of legislative advocating for our women veterans for the BVA as well. Our Women Veterans Group meeting for our entire organization is every 4th Thursday of the month, with an exception to the holidays. For example, since the holiday falls on that area of the 4th Thursday of the month, this month, we will be having our Women's Veterans Group meeting tomorrow, the 3rd Thursday of the month. It's at 4:00 p.m. It's through a free conference call. And I want to commend all of the leaders of our organization, the district directors, the regional group presidents for forwarding, and our comms team for forwarding the information every month regarding those meetings. Those meetings include ideas created by our women's veterans of our organization, particularity to specific events that we want to hold. We have guest speakers, and our guest speaker tomorrow will be the adaptive sports coordinator of the Hunter Holmes McGuire VA Medical Center, along with their rec therapists, directors. So we will be getting information according to what the VA will be updating us on according to adaptive sports. The next thing that I want to remind everyone of is our Women's Veterans Group fundraiser. For the past several months, we have been doing a Cincy fundraiser. The link has been shared on our Women's Veterans Group website that is attached to the BVA, our national website, and that ends on the 31st of December. And so if you would like to see and be interested in purchasing something and from the fundraiser, please do that. The money used that we're raising is to possibly fund some women veterans to our convention, whether it will be virtually or face-to-face, to possibly pay for their registration fee, and to hold events for our women veterans, such as retreats. The last thing I want to update you guys on is we will be having a virtual retreat between February and March of 2020. So we are in the process of planning in our Women Veterans Group meetings and committee meetings, our virtual retreat for 2021. We're almost finished planning that. So I encourage all our women veterans to definitely get involved and stay in contact. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to go to our BVA website, our Women's Veterans Group page, and all of the committee members, as well as myself, information is up there. Okay. Other than that, I really want to encourage everyone to stay safe, and thank you for being on the call today.
Thank you, Monica. Next up, I think we mentioned that we could get Ray Hale to go next from the dog handlers group. And then if we could just immediately after Ray, we could ask Ken Horn, chairman of the Operation Peer Support group, if he could address us after once Ray's finished.
Okay, can you hear me? This is Ray Hale.
We can.
Okay, sir. I'll try to make it quick and try to stay within 5 minutes. There we go. Here, a little history. I'm chair of the Dog Handlers Committee. I'll give you a quick history. 5-6 years ago, someone started meeting regarding guide dog issues and the issues we were having with pets in the public and how that affects what kind of barriers those create for us, and particularly issues within the VA and VA property and how that affected us. And when I say we, Paul Mims, Tim Hornick, and I can't remember who else was there back in them days, but Paul and I have stuck with it. Tim has gotten very busy. Now we are I guess you call us a full-blown committee within the BVA. We have, our committee purpose is to educate and advocate. And we, examples of how we educate is, for instance, we have a site on the BVA.org, Dog Handlers. The reason we call ourselves Dog Handlers is we want to include guide and service dogs, because some of our members do have service dogs, or family members do. And the rules all apply. We want to make sure that we provide the information that people can, so people can understand the difference between guide service dogs and pets or emotional support. And we're all animal lovers. It's just every pets have a different issue. Anyway, so we have a site that educates. Part of the education is our definition of what a guide and service dog is, and it's the federal definition under ADA. One of the issues we have in this country is we have about 3 different entities that address guide and service dogs, or service dogs in particular. Guide dogs are pretty much across the board, and that is U.S. air carriers. Those are private entities. So ADA doesn't apply to the aircraft unless it's government aircraft once you board. You have fair housing, which has different rules. They can let an emotional support animal, which can be a pet, snake, turtle, whatever. And that's the difference in terminology. They're not trained to do anything, but they do make people feel comfortable or and that sort of thing. And then we have ADA, which is the public for public access. Recently, Department of Transportation approved new regs for U.S. air carriers, which mirror ADA. The definition is the same, has to be a specifically trained dog for a specific disability. And when you're on government property and VA property, or excuse me, that's incorrect. When you want a dog of record under the VA regulations, so if the VA takes care of your prosthetic, because it becomes prosthetic, then the dog must be trained by an accredited training authority, which is ADI and IGDF. ADI is Assistance Dog International. They set the standard. And then IGDF is for guide dogs. Primary care has to put this into your treatment record as part of your treatment plan. You have to find a school. School dogs don't cost anything, shouldn't cost you a dime, but transportation might. And there are special form requests. You can go through the VA to go to that training facility, and we have those posted online. And then once you go through training and you come back providing proof to your primary care or VIS coordinator, there's another form that has to be filled out and sent through Central in the VA to get your dog listed as dog of record. And once that occurs, then you're issued a separate health ID card just for that particular dog and your health care needs. I generally say my dog gets better health care than I do, but he's more likable than I am. But so we have this kind of information. We keep that information up on the site. Through advocacy, part of our site, if you look at it, we give tips on how to select a training school. For instance, do you need to be engaged in a flex training program? Can you do 3 miles a day, or can you only do a quarter mile a day? Are you at the age or have a condition where getting up at 5 in the morning doesn't work for you, but 7 might? And there we do have a couple, 3 schools that have flex programs. Are you capable of going to a training facility for up to 4 weeks? Or do you need in-home training where the dog is brought to you? There are programs out there where they bring the dog to you. You got to go through hoops, through all of them, evaluations and approval, but at some point they bring the dog to you and they train at home. Those are usually 10 to 14 days of training from your home. Other awareness saying, well, through application, if you have issues with employment or gaining access, even if it's to a VA facility, or if you go to a training facility and you end up having an issue with a trainer, which can happen. Everybody signs agreements that they won't harass the trainers, and trainers aren't supposed to harass you, but it's a pretty intense environment at times. So what do? And perhaps a call to one of us can help you, guide you through that process. The important thing is you train with your dog and then you come home. And then the next step is family orientation, involving that family. So if they understand, when you bring that pup home, he's your guide dog or your service dog. It's not a family pet. And you have to maintain the training. And during COVID times of COVID, it makes it even tougher because we're not getting to get out and work, and the dog doesn't keep its head in training unless you take steps to make sure it's done. We have our monthly meetings the third Tuesday of each month. All you have to do to attend, you can call me directly. You can look me up on the site or Paul Mims and get your name added to the meeting notice. And we're glad to include you. And you can just dial in actually. But in order to do that, you'll need to go up on our site. But I want to thank, it's been a roller coaster ride since August, where the committee was approved, and we've been fast tracking, putting things together, and have had excellent support from the administration. In fact, they've made things so possible today. One of the final things I'll mention is we'll start putting stories in the bulletin, short stories, anecdotal stories, things that kind of can help make you stop and think about why I would even want to service an animal, or some of the crazy things that happen in the life of people who use guide dogs. Guide dogs, I'm closing now. Guide dogs, we got to keep in mind, are the oldest tech in our toolkit, besides learning Braille. But you combine guide dogs, which actually add to or enhance our independent lifestyle at home and in the public. But you add that to the technology, and we have a heck of a deal these days. In fact, there's a program the VA is working with in a couple of our BRCs called Cats and Dogs. CATS standing for Computer Access Training, and of course, dogs are dogs, so that they do a combination guide dog issue and training along with upgrading or teaching computer skills. So with that, I'll leave it and look forward to other people asking questions later and get hold of the question. I want to thank you.
Hooray.
Yes, sir.
You're finished. We lost you just right there at the very end.
Okay. Did you get the part about cats and dogs? Did you hear my pitch for cats and dogs?
I didn't hear that last thing.
Okay. Let me just pick up from there. One of the things that the VA is doing, one of the blind rehab centers are doing is, a couple of them are experimenting and working with. It's really Biloxi, and I think what's the other one in Texas? But anyway, the program is this. It's a 2-week program. You spend half a day learning computer skills. That's CATS, computer access training. And the other half of the day learning skills to work with a guide dog, and the guide dog is actually issued to you there. I don't know how soon that it's going to be before that program starts again, but you need to go. If you know somebody has that need, they need to, of course, go through their VIS coordinator. It's the best place to start. So did you get all that?
Yes.
Okay. And so any questions or anybody wants to get a hold of us, feel free anytime. You should be able to reach our contact information on our website, BVA.org, Dog Handlers Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's go straight. I know that Ken Horn's on. If you take it away, Ken.
Yeah, I'm here. How's everybody doing today? Just on OPS, just to let you know, we're as active as we can be. And I say that because although OPS has not done anything since we decided to stop operations when COVID got going, we still have several members that find ways to do things. And that's important for us because we also like to promote that as well. The last things that we did, we're coming up on a year now. It's been about a year since I took over. Were Steamboat Stars and Team River Runners Key Largo paddling event back in the early spring of last year. But we've had members find and conduct events on their own after doing their own risk assessment. And while we encourage pardon me. While we encourage members to be active, we also, we encourage them to be safe. And we don't sponsor these events because, we don't want to accept any liability on it. But we don't want our members that are in places where they can do things safely to just be holed up in their house if there's other opportunities for them to do something with other veteran organizations. But like I said, we do promote it. We promote it on social media when they do things like that, be it Lonnie and Steve climbing a mountain somewhere, or I did a fundraiser event with Team River Runner and myself and another blind veteran and a couple of other disabled veterans did up in northern Oklahoma sometime back to help support them and also show the BVA flag a little bit. And then we also do some fundraising things. Toby Keith, who lives here in Oklahoma, donated an autographed guitar to BVA. And we had decided what we wanted to do was hang it in BVA headquarters for a little while before we auction it off. And one of these days when we have a convention and I can take it and pass it off to somebody there at the headquarters, I'll be happy to do that. And then we have several members from OPS that are also participating on the congressionally directed medical review panel for vision research. And I think that's also something that, we want to promote. We promote amongst a lot of our members to be active and to be good citizens and be good visually impaired and blinded advocates so that they can tell their story to folks who are going to help assist blinded and low vision people in the future, all these scientists and doctors. We meet monthly. We always have plenty of committee members present for quorums. We never have issues with that. And we continue to plan with the flexibility in mind. So we're ready to execute things when we return to normal. And so that's all I have for today.
Well, that's awesome. Hopefully we'll have maybe a few questions at the end. So we are holding the questions till the end, so that doesn't necessarily mean that you're completely done. But we're going to call up next. We got Jim Vale next. If Jim's with us from the Veteran Service Program, he's going to speak. And then if we could ask Patty Hale to follow him from the BVA Auxiliary.
And Stuart, when I speak, would you also turn Sandy Krasnodemski on so that we can both do it?
Sure. Yeah, you can both speak at the same time as long as you're unmuted. You can just you can alternate back and forth.
Okay, we got our hands done. Thank you.
That's no problem. So if we can go to Jim first. Jim, are you with us?
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jim Vale, National Service Director for the Blind Veterans Association. And I just wanted to point out, we're in a transition from being reactive to proactive. And I understand the issues in the past for veterans not getting a timely response from the Field Service Program, now the Veteran Service Program, and we are working to resolve that. And it's and one of the things we're working on is training. And so starting next month, we're going to be having training for our service officers, and also we'd like to include the ambassadors. And so we're going to have volunteer ambassadors at the 13 blind centers. And so we're going to have weekly training, and it's I think people learn better a little bit at a time than being fed with the fire hose once a year. And so we're going to follow the DAV model where we train the service officers. We got a set time every week. We don't take any phone calls. We just focus on training. And I think that's something that's been missing over the years is training. So as many of you know, I have 17 years experience in the veterans benefits realm. I'm a licensed attorney in the state of Washington. I've developed a training program for Big 6 VSO. I'm also a contributing author to the Veterans Benefits Manual. I wrote the chapter on blindness and vision loss claims. And so it's really important to have an effective training program, and we're going to have that, and we're going to start that next month. Also, we're going to change the way we do business. The old way is not working, where veterans call in, they leave a voicemail, the service officer is just overwhelmed with too many calls. It's frustrating for the veteran. I mean, I've been there myself, waiting weeks and weeks and weeks for my VSO to call me back. I know what that's like. I've also been on the other side where I got a callback list a mile long. So we're going to be switching to a proactive model. We're going to have a staff person handle air traffic control for the calls, and we're going to work more like a law firm. When you call a law firm, you can't just rarely call in and get right through to an attorney. You got to make an appointment to talk to the attorney. And why do they do that? Because if they didn't, the attorney wouldn't be able to get his work done or her work done. So that's what we're going to do. So when the veteran calls in, they'll be able to make an appointment through the receptionist, and then they'll get a call back from the service officer. And that way, that's going to create order to this process. We have authorization to add another staff person to our department, and see we are currently recruiting for an experienced representative in the Big Six with Big Six experience, including training experience, appeals experience. And so we're interviewing candidates for that position, which closes on the 21st. And I'm confident that we're going to find a qualified person to help augment our current staff. And then the other thing is we were lacking in IT. And one of the first things we did when I came on board last July is we implemented a new program called Vet Pro. And that allows us to, when we take a call from a veteran, we can complete the intake, have the veteran sign on their phone. And that way we don't have to mail them a form to fill out or fax them a form or have them fax it back. We just do it all over the phone with the, as long as they have an iPhone or an Android device or a tablet or an iPad, they can sign on their device, and it makes it a lot quicker. Plus we get a confirmation from VA when we make the submission. So we're quickly moving from paper to electronic. And then, like I said, the goal here is we're transitioning from being reactive to proactive, and that's going to improve the service for our veterans and also improve the work environment for our staff. And it'll be a win-win for everybody. And so also before I give up the floor, I wanted to mention something very important, and this is in my column, is if you wind up in the emergency room, it's not at the VA, it's a private hospital. You need to notify VA within 72 hours of your admission, not 72 hours when you're discharged, but 72 hours when you're admitted. And before, it was very difficult to notify VA and obtain proof that you've notified VA. So as of June 8th of this year, VA has stood up a hotline you can call. It's 1-844 VHA. I'm sorry, 1-844 72-hour VHA, or numerically it's 844-724-7842. You can call that number and they'll document your admission, or you can send an email. They have an email. It's VHA emergency notification @va.gov. Again, that's VHA emergency notification @va.gov. I recommend calling the toll-free number and then also sending an email and put in the email that you call the 800 number, and that way you're covered. And that's very, very important. And I've been through that process myself, and I know what it's like trying to get the proof that I notified the VA. But it took a while, but I was successful in getting VA to cover multiple ER visits. And so I don't want any of you in that situation and missing the 72-hour window and then losing out on having the VA cover your admission. So check my article. I have these numbers in there, or feel free to contact me. I can provide it to you later if you don't have it. But it's very important to notify VA of an emergency admission. So with that, I wish you all a happy holiday. And Stuart, I will turn this back to you.
Thank you very much, Jim. Appreciate that. We'll go now to Sandy and Patty.
Thank you, Stuart. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right.
Loud and clear, at least for right now.
Okay. We never know. Our computer's been screwing up here.
Yeah.
So, okay. Blinded Veterans Association Auxiliary was founded in 1977. So in 2020, we celebrated 43 years. We are chartered under the BVA bylaws, Article 17, to be the auxiliary to support and promote the BVA, our blinded veterans, and each other. Simpler and even more current terms, we are the caregivers of the BVA and our blinded veterans. For $15 a year, friends, family, and caregivers over 18 years of age may become members of the BVAA. We use our fundraisers and donations to fund our Renee Feldman Educational Scholarship for spouses and children of our blinded veterans. We have traditionally given 2 $2,000 scholarships and 1 $1,000 scholarship yearly to the accredited college of recipient's choice. And by the way, the deadline for those scholarships for the fall is coming up on January 31st, 2021, slightly over a month away. Our primary fundraisers have been our silent auctions at the convention and our 10, 20, 30, 40 raffle, which is like a 50-50 raffle, only there's one more winner there. We have and donated gifts raffle at the convention banquet. Patty?
Thank you, Sandy. Now, I'd like to say a little bit about the new VA Caregivers Act. As many of you know, October 1st, 2020, CFR Title 38, Section 71 opened up to certain caregivers for veterans of Vietnam, Korea, and the remaining World War II veterans. The first things that were done in the new Caregivers Act were to get rid of the opportunities for fraud, which there was a lot of, and to reinforce needs for and dismissal of primary family caregivers. Primary family caregivers may, with the approval of the qualified veteran, fill out the VA Form 1010CG if the veteran is 70% service-connected. Unemployability does not count in that. And if you are unsure of your veteran's service-connected rating, then check with your qualified veteran service officer for verification. The veteran must have received service-connected on serious injury or illness, but cannot be receiving aid and attendance for the same or similar conditions. The primary family caregivers are frequently chosen for many of the same conditions as aid and attendance. This repeated benefit is called double dipping, and it's illegal and fraud. It's generally accepted that you would receive one or the other, but not both. The VA now has the basic requirements on their website, and you can access it either from the VA website directly or from the caregiver website, which is simply caregiver.va.gov. That's caregiver.va.gov. But read all of the pages before you do anything. Many applicants have not read all the information and are finding themselves being denied. Even the post 9/11 ones who received benefits through the first Caregivers Act. Remember I mentioned they got rid of opportunities for fraud and double dipping, hopefully. Then consider your first step as calling your veterans primary care team. They are the same ones that would evaluate your veteran for either aid and attendance or a primary family caregiver. Look at it this way. The primary care team will be evaluating the veteran's activities for daily living, also called ADLs. So why not make a list of some of the things your veteran considers ADLs and the things he would have to have someone else do for him if you, as his caregiver, weren't around. ADLs for the blind are things sighted people often do not consider. So think of it this way. If you were to wear a blindfold for a week, what would you consider an activity of daily living? Sadly, many of our blinded veterans may not be eligible to have a primary family caregiver. Blinded veteran or caregiver, be your own best advocate. Do it for yourself because you are the only one that really cares enough to do it. You will also be expected to fulfill the VA's caregiver training and work closely with the veteran's primary care team, as well as the blinded veteran. There are reports to fill out and you will be reevaluated again, most likely in 1 to 3 years. But the BVA, with the support of the BVA, will continue to present caregiver programs and training at convention and on the new Zoom platform. Plus, our support of the blind and each other is unique among all caregivers. And you are likely already an expert in caregiving. You just may not realize it yet. And we can always learn more and support each other. So let's see how much more we will be able to do together. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Appreciate that. I have a little part on this program today, and this Stuart from Public Relations. I'm going to go next, and then when I'm finished, I'm going to turn it over to Don Overton to kind of finish off the presentation parts. I just wanted to mention a little bit about the BVA Bulletin. We've been doing a lot of different things in public relations that we didn't do before. We're trying to communicate more with the members on a regular basis to let them know what's going on with through emails. I really appreciate the regional group officers that are forwarding those emails out. I know sometimes the subjects of the emails may not be as relevant as others, but we do appreciate that. And we're trying to, as Tom Zampieri mentioned, we're trying to upgrade the website, doing a lot more with social media, and Kylie's been really instrumental in improving that. But I wanted to focus on the bulletin just a little bit to give you an update on that. The BVA Bulletin was actually started in 1946. It was called the Bulletin, the BVA Bulletin, right at the very beginning. And so that name has stayed with us for the 75.5 years now. And that's one thing that hasn't changed, and I hope it doesn't change. The Bulletin's alive and well. It is a quarterly right now, and you'll be receiving a bulletin very soon in one format or another. And that's kind of specifically what I wanted to address. Some of you may not be receiving the bulletin in the format that you prefer, or maybe you like to have a different format. But we have, of course, the print version, which that's the version that's existed from the very beginning. And we still do have a print version. The number of copies that we're producing on the print version is drastically reduced in the last, I will say, last 8 years. We've drastically reduced that, and that's because of the availability of electronic communication. So we also have 2 ways of receiving an email version of the bulletin. The first one is sort of a narrated version that's the same as our audio files, which I'm going to mention in a minute. I basically just put the script in there, describe the pictures, describe the graphics, and then it's just the text of the bulletin in that, and it's a Word version. It's in Word format, Microsoft Word. The other email version is a PDF, and it is basically a replica of the print version. It's not as readable, of course, with voice activated software. It's a lot of times it's not compatible with you being able to read it on your computers. But if you're partially sighted, if you have a lot of vision, sometimes it's good to actually get that version, and I think it can be enlarged. So it looks just like the print version. My list, the list of people who receive the PDF is very small right now. I don't get too many requests for that. The Word version, we're in the many hundreds of you are receiving the Word version. The other version of the bulletin that's available is online, and it's the audio version. We have a professional narrator who describes the photos and reads the text. He's very, very good, and he's rather new at doing this, but he's a professional. He just hasn't done the bulletin I think this is the one he just completed, which we're about to release. This is his third time. Along with that audio version, there is an opportunity to get a CD. It's a little bit condensed. We're limited to 80 minutes with the CD, so we usually have to cut out some portions of the bulletin from the CD. But I have a group of about 120 that receive the bulletin that way. So there's the audio version, which includes the CD version, and the audio version we upload to our website. We have not been able to get that up just yet, and Cheryl's been instrumental in making that really easy to access. And so we hope she'll get back soon so she can actually do that. But we also have been posting the PDF version and the Word version on the website as well. The issue that's going to be coming out is the autumn issue. And so what I mainly wanted to request of everyone that's here, if you could spread the word, and also just for yourselves, if you're not receiving the bulletin at all, and I know there's some people out there that for some reason they're not getting it. If you're not getting it at all, please contact me by email or by phone and let me know, and we can discuss what the best format is. Or if you're getting it in a format that you would rather get it some other way, let me know that also. There were some changes that were done 5 or 6 years ago that I think affected a lot of people, and maybe they're not getting the bulletin the way that they used to or preferred to. And one of the big changes was we used to have a cassette that went out, and we had about 4,800 cassettes that went out every issue of the bulletin. And that stopped, and it was mainly because of the cost prohibitive nature of CDs. And of course, that happened when cassettes were no longer going to be available in those large quantities. So with that, I think I pretty much covered the bulletin. Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to mention about the bulletin, and that is if you have story ideas, we would like those. We have several sections of the bulletin. One of the very best ones recently has been the auxiliaries view, which I love Patty's columns. We have about 16 different sections in the bulletin, and the one that I think is probably the most important, but the one that is the most difficult to fill is the around BVA section, which should consist of some maybe short little articles about things that are going on in your regional groups, or just even individual people at BVA that are doing interesting things, even if it's something that maybe to some people might seem trivial. I would really like to get more, and Kylie, with the two of us together, we would like to get more human interest type things that can be kind of described briefly. So if you have story ideas, you can for sure email us or call us, but there's also another way to do that now, and Cheryl Gadgetar has made that possible. If you actually go to the bulletin page, if you go to the website and go to the menu up on top and go to media, and then the drop-down menu has a page for the bulletin, you can go to that page, and there's actually there's a box, and I've been told that it's very user-friendly with JAWS. You can fill that out, and you can either you can put the story right there. You can make the contribution yourself, or you can attach a Word document to it, or you can just give us an idea of a story, and then we'll follow up and try to put it together ourselves. I'd really appreciate if we could get more participation. There's some of our regional groups are really active in doing that and giving us things. I guess I'll just highlight the Louisiana Mississippi regional group. They constantly are sending us things, which is great, but we'd like to have more from different other regional groups. With that, I think I'll go ahead and turn it over to Dawn, and you can kind of finish us out here. I think I hope I haven't left anybody off. If I have, definitely speak up. I'll turn it over to you, and you can take whatever time you need, and then we'll take some questions, I guess, at the very end.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important that we do open it up for questions here sooner rather than later. I just wanted to quickly take the opportunity to thank all of the members that have joined us today. Obviously, this organization exists because of you and your dedication and your commitment to the organization. It's an honor and a privilege for me to have been afforded the opportunity to represent the organization at the executive director level. As I think you've heard from staff and those that have worked their way into leadership positions throughout the organization, Blinded Veterans Association is transitioning and transforming for the next 75 years of this organization's history. We look forward to that. We're trying to drive what I push, which are efficiency models here at the national headquarters level. So you will see a lot more automation and our ability to be responsive to your needs as a membership. I want to thank each of you that have taken the time to reach out to me and engage with me in communications. We can only be as effective as you allow us. And if we don't know what's happening throughout the organization, it's difficult for us to make these changes and make sure that we're responsive to your needs. And that is what the organization is structured to do. So you as a member, most of you are connected with a regional group. Utilize that regional group, be an effective leader within that regional group, work with your district directors who do a tremendous job and really deliver those messages to us so that we can respond and react to them, and then also delivering those up through the executive committee and the national board to help us truly understand where the needs are. So I'm excited about the future. I'm excited to have these opportunities to represent you as we emerge from these very unique and difficult times. But just realize that the organization is here. It exists for you. And I welcome the opportunity to engage with more of you. And with that, again, I want to keep it extremely short and open this up for the question and answer session so that we can hear from you and find out exactly what's going on throughout the organization and the country right now. So Stuart, I'll turn it over and I will help administer any of the Q&A sessions, sir.
Yeah, if you could actually help a little bit with just if you can see who's asking questions, I might overlook something. I see one question from someone who's calling in from an area code 978, and his phone number, the first three digits are 521. Oh, that, yes.
Yeah, Tom and Don, and thank you for having this conference call. This is very beneficial. I'm Dr. Gerard Boucher from Massachusetts Regional Group, and I just wanted to know, you could send us some email to us about like the bills you have in legislation. You said there was 4 of them. I'd like to back that up and support them if I could. And any other information, any contact numbers.
Yeah, and Tom, if you don't mind, I'll jump on that really quickly. So the bills that were initially presented were signed into law. We will be promoting, we're working right now with the team on the new legislative priorities for the new 117th Congress. So as soon as we get those legislative priorities together, they will be distributed throughout the organization as well as posted on the website. And we will be deploying another tool that Blinded Veterans Association used extremely effectively last year, is what we call a grassroots advocacy platform. It simply requires you to log into the website, and it's all alt tagged, so it's screen reader accessible. You put in your address, your email, and a few other basic pieces of information, and we have pre-formatted correspondence that will identify who your congressional representatives are, your senators and your congressional representative, and that message will go directly to their office, allowing you to be part of our government relations team advocating for legislation important to our members. And that's what really helped us to find success in what Tom touched on earlier, both Ability One, special adaptive housing, work we did on the caregiver legislation, and most recently the website accessibility measure, which is going to be critically important for our organization. So great question. We will be very proactive. Again, as Jim stressed, earlier, and making sure that we're messaging effectively and giving you all the opportunity to have your voice heard if you're not able to travel directly to Washington, D.C. and walk the halls of Congress.
Okay, thank you. I'm always in touch with my legislators. I know them all personally anyways. However, thank you for that information. I'll be waiting for more to act upon. Thank you and have safe holidays.
Thank you. Thank you for your membership and your leadership. We appreciate you.
Dawn, there's a question in the chat. Let's see if I can find that.
Are they?
From John O'Connell. Any plans to do anything with blind hockey in the future? You had an event or two back in 2017.
Yeah, so I don't have a lot of details on that information. One of the things that I will say is we're working from the national headquarters perspective with the Operation Peer Support Team and other leaders. What BVA, what the organization is positioning itself for this year is to be able for the first time ever to tie into and really work collaboratively with the Department of Veterans Affairs and the adaptive sports programs in those areas. So once we get the details put together and we assess the program offerings out there by the Department of Veterans Affairs, we'll determine where those goodness of fits are for our members in the organization. So we're open to communications across the board, and we'll look exactly on where we're able to plug those resources in.
Thank you. So I have another chat question from John Thomas, and this would be for Jim. He's asking us if we could please post the phone number again to call if you're going to the ER again, and the email address to use. John, I don't know if it'd be beneficial to just say that again. I can certainly, if you can put your email address, if you're willing to put that into the chat, I could actually send that to you in writing. That's helpful. Jim, would you mind doing that again, actually mentioning it verbally though again, the phone number as well as the email address that you use? Oh, there you go.
Yes, I can do that. I'm looking it up again. Just I'll just
Okay.
take a minute to look
And
it up.
I've got John's email address here.
And
John, I will send that to you also.
Yeah, I was going to say, and Stuart, I'll jump in, Jim.
Okay.
It's going to be in the bulletin articles that'll be coming out here very soon. It'll be posted on the website as well, and Stuart will directly get that out. That way, if there's other questions, we can open up the floor. But Jim, as soon as you get that, if you're able to post it right into the chat, that might be the easiest thing to do.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
May I ask a question? Is this just open to ask the questions, or is there a lineup? This is Mr. Warner Murray up here in New York City.
Mr. Murray, the floor is yours, sir.
Okay. I want to ask, have they found out any information as far as the BRCs like Connecticut or out in Cleveland or even the Visor program in New Jersey? Will they be open up in 2021 so we can get some more training, computer training and so forth?
Yeah, and I'll take that, I think, because I am on the regular leadership. It's Don Overton, Mr. Murray. So we're meeting with VA Blind Rehabilitation Services leadership on a regular basis. The BRCs were always geared to be part of VA's phase 3 reopening plan, which was a safety measure that was put in place. Many of the blind rehabilitation centers have been repurposed as a result of COVID, not to COVID units, but to long-term care and some other departments within the various medical centers. And so what Blind Rehab has done is they've created a lot of virtual opportunities for training, and we're continuing to explore those. So what we have to look at is there are so many variables that factor in, not only from the federal level, but then as we get down into the state and local levels on really, what our capacity is to put people in place. And so we had some initial openings with some of the BRCs, and one of the other things that was happening, and there's no travel, so we weren't able to travel individuals from across the country into a BRC, but if you were in a catchment area, they were partnering with some of the Fisher houses. And what we plan on doing is in January, beginning to post, there'll be additional content and Stuart will distribute this. I hope you're on the distribution list. If not, look on the website. We'll work with Blind Rehab Service leadership and the program consultants to begin to put detailed information up to let you all know what's planned and how we're going forward from there. So.
Okay. I am involved weekly with the training with the Visor program from Lyons, New Jersey, with Mr. Callenberg and Michael Bryant. I was just wondering, was there, more, going to open up? But that you did answer the question, and I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, and I want to piggyback off of what you just said. We did when we met with VA leadership. As a result of the Mission Act, we are looking at more and more of the community-based providers, such as where you're getting that training right now, to try to accommodate in the interim and moving forward. So we'll continue to explore those options and try to get those resources available across the country to others to know where they might be able to tap into some of those more community-based and local resources. So glad to hear you're doing that. That's wonderful.
Okay.
I see a question from Mashawn Harrison. Could you go ahead and unmute yourself, Mashawn, and you can,
Yes, can you hear me?
yes, we can.
I'm just throwing this question out to whoever can answer it. I live in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and I was told that they're gonna be breaking ground for a new VA medical center that's here in Fredericksburg. My question was, who do we contact to make sure that the visual support or the optometry and visor and vis does not get overlooked? The reason I'm asking is currently at our McGuire VA, we have the vis on the 5th floor, optometry in someplace else. The BVA office is around on the other side of the hospital. So what I was trying to do is, so we won't be overlooked, who do we contact to make sure that the visual support or the blind rehab for this new hospital has the services and provides the needs and simple things like location, so we can all be in the same proximity. No one seems to know the answer.
Yeah, Mashawn, it's Don Overton, and it's a great question. One of the things that's happening, and we're actually participating this week in the listening sessions, and we have been asked by the White House for a nomination to the Asset and Infrastructure Commission, which determines things such as this. One of the things that happens is, obviously, as they come in and they assess what the demographics of an area are, and we begin to look at, the clinic needs and what's going to go on in there, then they have to look at, what are the numbers of individuals that are going to be met. And so what's happened in the past and what most of us experience is we're in some older facilities, antiquated buildings, and I think you have a valid point in that we end up with services all over the facility, wherever they can find space and that can accommodate those clinics. I think as you begin to see some of the more modern facilities come online, their VA is taking a much more proactive approach to this and beginning to put those types of services together. So until we know for sure, what the numbers are in that community that's going to be served of low vision veterans and things along those lines, it's going to be hard to tell how they're going to staff that. Now, is that going to be a full-blown VA medical center, or is it a community-based outpatient clinic?
You're asking me, sir?
Yes, Mashawn, I apologize. I was throwing that back to you. If it was a full-blown medical center or a tiered down, either CBOC or one of the other smaller facilities.
I'm sorry, not to cut you. To my knowledge, since it's going to be by CBOC, so it's a tiered down. They said we'd still have to go to Richmond for some of our services, but they would have an optometry clinic. That's what I was told.
Perfect, Mashawn. I'll make a note after this. What I'll do is I'll do follow up with VA Central Office. I'll find the right individuals and see if we can find out what specialty clinics will be inside that facility.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Absolutely, ma'am.
I'm not seeing anything else. Any other
Stuart?
questions right now?
My hand been raised for a long time, Stuart.
Oh, Jerry, go ahead.
Jerry Hogan. Yeah, I checked, my hand been raised. I'm just, must be buried somewhere in there. Well, first of all, Stuart known me for a long time, so I've been trying to get something like this going on for over 8 years ago, because I had a 500 room site. But then now the Zoom is much better. And I like to see it, if it's possible, to have something like this event, about every 2 months, for now, because of the COVID, or 1 month or 2 months, whatever you guys feel fit. And I think you'll get more participants. I think this is new and people who want to work it out. Second of all is living here in San Antonio, Texas. I'll speak for here, but I'm sure in some other area around the country, our VIS coordinator here does not inform us at all in any shape, form, no newsletter, nothing, do anything, except only when you do call, you have to leave a message and you get a call back. Is there a way that there could be a uniform protocol that if there could be a protocol that all VIS coordinator must write newsletter, inform their veteran what's going on, because here in San Antonio, we don't even know what's going on in the blind center. We don't know nothing. There's no information. Then when you do call, they kind of hesitate to give you any information. So
Yeah.
it's not just here, but I'm sure it's going on around the country. I think we should have we've been working with that before you came in here, Don, when it was Al Avina, and we have brought this up between Larry Below and I and our group president here in South Texas, but nothing have materialized whatsoever.
Yeah, Jerry, two really good points. First point being to address is about utilizing these platforms. We've been positioning ourselves, and we have some folks out there that are subject matter experts. What we'd like to do, and Tom touched on it at the beginning of this, is that these are going to become very regular for us, if not on a weekly basis, a bi-weekly basis, with different opportunities to come in based on what folks' needs could be. Whether it's going to be a caregiver session, it could be a veterans benefits session that Jim and his team put on. It could just be a general wellness. We also can put together these different offerings. So we're looking at what's there and who can facilitate those. So I appreciate you bringing that up, and it's a way for all of us to stay connected. And yes, leadership will consistently hold these so that we can have listening sessions to make sure that we're being responsive to the needs of the membership out there. The district directors will have forums as well as the board. And then again, those of us on staff. To your second point, I think you're going to see a market improvement across the entire enterprise in blind rehabilitation services. A brand new directive is in the final stages of being released by Blind Rehab Services. And that's really going to set the tone for the VIS coordinators, the bros, everybody that works in the continuum of care and blind rehab services. To go along with the new directives that are really going to set those standards, Jerry, is the fact that there's new VIS training and there's new bros training under development. And the biggest difference in this is that those new training opportunities are not going to grandfather longstanding individuals. So the VIS will go through that. It'll help to hopefully begin to standardize and create those better opportunities for open dialogue, open communication with the folks. And so anything that we can do from our perspective, again, to facilitate, bring it through the regional group, through the district director, allow the district director to bring it to us, and we'll address it during the leadership calls. But two valid points, Jerry. We'll continue to monitor and let us know how we do. Give them time to react. It'll take them a little bit of time in the new year. and still dealing with COVID, but hopefully we'll see those improvements.
We've been doing this for a long time and nothing materialized. Now that you're aboard, it's hard to say what's going to happen. One other thing, if in the VIS office, you got the bros in the VIS, and then you have a social worker VIS that work in the office. It seemed like there'd be 3 bosses in there, like, because I have already experienced it and seen it, that a VIS would try to say something to a social worker that's working there and they're recognized as a VIS person, and they say, hey, you gotta go talk to my boss. So there's 2 different bosses. There's surgical boss and there's social boss. I think in the VIS office where all the team work together, there should be 1 boss.
Yep, nope, they're good and valid points, and I do believe that our representation on the asset and infrastructure, it's all looking at how they approach service delivery through the entire VA enterprise, and we will have a voice in that process, which will give a strong voice for the blind community. And so we're excited to be a part of that process, and we will continue to deliver the message to leadership. That's part of what our function is here. So we'll do the best that we can. And I'll have to tell you, I've seen, positive results in anything that we've brought to the program consultants. This is being brought to me now. So we will address it, those of us that have those calls, and let's see if we can't make a positive impact for your group there, sir.
Thank you.
So Don, I don't see any more hands raised or questions, and we have gone our 90 minutes. I don't know if you want to say anything else, or if you want to kind of give.
I don't want to shut anybody out. If there's somebody out there that doesn't understand the hand raise or just wants to open the floor, while we've still got folks on there, we're happy to field any additional questions that there could be.
Don, I got the phone number if you want me to repeat it.
That'd be great, Jim.
Okay. My chat feature's not working, so I'm not able to cut and paste. But it's the phone number is 1-844 724 correction. It's 1-844-724-7842. Again, that's 844-724-7842. Or you can email VHA, that's for Veterans Health Administration. It's VHA emergency notification at va.gov.
I also was able to paste that into the chat. So
thank you, Stuart.
Yeah, I was able to get that just now.
I'd like a comment on one thing too, Don.
Sure.
You have a more of a work with the other service organization as well and put a voice in this. I think the other easy way for a veteran, because like, for example, I know my local VA phone number. One other way, we should be able to call our local VA as operator and give us transfer over us to that phone number automatically. They all operator in the VA system should have that. So if I'm in the hospital and see, the only number I might know is just my 210-617 number, and then 0 for the operator, say I'm in the hospital and I need to let them know that I'm in the hospital. I mean,
yep, appreciate it.
The easiest way.
Excuse me, Daryl Goldsmith, whenever I can.
Roger that, Marine. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you. On the caregivers, the new legislation for caregivers, with our being blinded veterans and going to blind rehab, our goal is to be independent. And what I understand is that if you can wash your face and provide your own meals and get dressed, then you are unable to receive a caregiver, even though as blinded veterans, we know that there's other limitations that require in our mind, require a caregiver. Is that something that's to be addressed?
Yeah, Daryl, I'm happy to look at that. Tom Zampieri did a phenomenal job of advocating and representing our needs and our desires in that new legislation. Unfortunately, for those that are familiar with the legislative process, you know, the most well-intentioned legislation ultimately can fail when it gets to the regulatory phase, meaning when the legislation gets signed into law by the president and then it goes to the agency and the agency writes the rules. The agency has some broad discretion to interpret the legislation the way they so desire. And no matter how hard Tom dug in during his testimony about activities of daily living and the fact that once again, it was going to put blind veterans in a unique perspective, and that, to your point, we go out to try to be as independent as possible, but we are still dependent on caregivers for many of our needs. So our work's not done. Unfortunately, we will be approaching the 117th Congress, and we will be addressing this situation, and we have to look at it from a realistic perspective. I think Patty Hale did a phenomenal job of helping to outline some of the challenges that we will have here. And it's something that we as an organization, and hopefully during convention assembled, we can get together and really and truly have a dialogue and begin to look at this, because we have to understand what the true intent of caregiver legislation is. Caregiver legislation, unfortunately, was a little bit too broadly applied initially to the first group of individuals. And it really and truly should require the true need of a caregiver versus what, you know, some of us are capable of, particularly after blind rehabilitation. But we need to revisit it. We need to look at it. Is it something, you know, similar to what we see in the VHA, the Veterans Health Administration, where we have different categories of eligibility for healthcare entitlement, categories 1 through 8, and then the additional caveats? Is the caregiver legislation eventually going to be where we're not just looking at the few tiers that they have right now, but is it something that we look at scaling based on different cohorts of veterans? That might be the approach we take, Daryl, but it's going to take you all helping us to craft that and then delivering that message effectively to Congress. So we've got a ways to go. It's a good start, but we haven't crossed the finish line, sir.
This is Patty. May I add a note to that?
By all means, yes, ma'am, please do.
That's why those activities of daily living are there, and like you say, they are set, but they do have some latitude as far as how they can be interpreted. That's why I said earlier that what you need to do as a veteran is sit down and say, okay, if my caregiver wasn't here with me, what would I need to do to continue my independence and my activities of daily living? The caregiver thing is based strictly on veteran need and how they interpret that veteran needs of a caregiver. And like a lot of other things, if our goal is independence, and that's blinded veterans, VA, all of them. So as if you're using a caregiver and it has worked and you no longer need that caregiver for that option, then your benefits may change, or you may even lose them. The easiest one I can think of, because it happens way often, is a veteran that is having prostate problems. He might start out at 10%, and it may go up to 100%, but as soon as he's cleared and all well and it's all taken care of, then he drops down to nothing again. And that's what it is. He doesn't need it anymore. The same with the caregiver thing. They'll give it to you for what you need or as long as you need it, and then the caregiver will drop off if you don't need it anymore.
This is Dr. Udaley. I have a question and a comment.
Roger that, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Dr. Douglas Udaley. first of all, I have a different number than what Jim gave, and I called it and it announced it was a 72-hour notice. That number that I have is 877-881-7618, options 1 and then option 2. And along with that, veterans should know that if you're in a hospital and you're incapacitated, that a family member or friend can call in for that, but they need to have your name, the facility that you are in, if it's out, out of the VA system. They need to have the address and or phone number at all if possible, and they should have your date of birth or your full social security number. So this is part of pre-planning on the behalf of veterans to get this set up with family members or others so that they would have this information available just in case of an accident.
Appreciate it, sir. And I think one of the things that we've identified now is the critical need for us to put together a one-pager on this, which I'll task Jim and his team with. We'll do confirmations on those resources, and then we'll get that distributed out across the membership, and we'll make sure that we come up with a usable approach for the future as well, because it is critically important that our family members have that information. So thank you for that, sir.
Jerry Hogan again.
Go ahead, sir.
I just got off the phone with the VA operator, and I talked to them. If a veteran is in the hospital, been admitted to a hospital, and they call you within 72 hours, call the VA, like say the Audie Murphy VA here in San Antonio. She said, yeah, just ask the operator that you're in the hospital, and we have the number for that extension. She said she would assume that most VA operator have that number. So, well, I could share that. So if you guys don't know the 844 number, they'll transfer you over to that number.
We'll get it worked out. Thank you all.
Sounds like there might be more than one number.
Yeah, we'll get it worked out.
Hey, Stuart.
Yes, is this Calvin?
Yes, it's Calvin, Tennessee Regional Group.
Yes.
I just got a question about the membership. Seems like we're declining kind of rapidly. What are the plans for improving the membership, and how can we pique the interest of younger veterans to join us? And lastly, how has the lifetime membership of $25 been working for us?
Can you
yeah, I'm happy to address it from our meetings with the board. I don't want to step on the board's toes, but I'll look at it and address it from my perspective. One of the things that we did here at National, again, is we're positioning the organization to operate from efficiency modeling. Part of that was bringing in new technology to manage both our donor data as well as our membership data. So something that hadn't been done in the organization for quite some time was a review of that membership data. So we've been working overtime in beginning that process. BVA was very heavily favored towards our World War II, Korean, and now Vietnam era veterans. So you raise a good point on the younger generation of veterans and engagement. This is not unique to Blinded Veterans Association. I worked on a white paper several years back with some of the other big 6 veteran service organizations. And one of the things that we found is, it takes about 10 years for a veteran to really engage with a VSO after separation from the military. And that's not unexpected, given age, given the education programs that are out there. They might become involved on campus with programs, and then, starting families and things along those lines. And then about 10 years out, they start thinking about benefits, why it becomes so important for BVA's veteran service program to really be a state-of-the-art operation, because the experience that individual has with BVA up front calling for benefits, if it's a bad experience, they're not going to join the organization. They're not going to stay active with it. Okay. So it becomes critically important there. Our program offerings are equally important. The work that Ken Horn and the team does over with Operation Peer Support and the future expansion of that program to make sure that it is including all generations of veterans, because as we all understand, many of our members lose their sight due to age-related conditions. So those program offerings, Monaca Gilmore and what she's doing out there and leading the charge to make this organization very inclusive of our women veterans, the fastest growing demographic of active duty and transitioning service members are women veterans. And so it's critically important that we recognize the needs of our women veterans and that we advocate for them. So I think we have tremendous opportunities to move the organization in a positive direction. The board, and really it comes down to all of you out there at Convention Assembled, we do need to revisit what the membership due structures are. And there's folks that are working on bylaws across the organization right now. And I'm excited to see the membership come together and really look at that. We're going to be transparent and we're going to put everything on the table. I think that's the intent of what Tom shared at the beginning was we are moving in a direction that's a precarious and a dangerous direction right now. And we need to find the path forward. And it's going to take all of us collectively finding that path forward. So every voice out there matters. I hope that gave you enough base information, but I certainly hope you'll help us work on the solution as well.
I will. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate Don's response. It's perfect. I think we, talking to different regional groups, the common ise that many of you can certainly relate to on this call today is, where is everybody? And I think, and nobody, it's almost like, you try to, do a teleconference meeting or whatever, which is, I realize, so different for us versus getting together. But even before COVID, it was a problem the last couple years. I had detected that they're, getting people to even show up face-to-face meetings instead of 15 members, showing up. Regional group presidents would tell me they could be lucky if they got 7 or 8. And and I think what happened was Don's staff, as he mentioned, started to cross-reference some of these, elderly members that we were carrying on our lists and our rosters. But the regional group secretaries and presidents and vice presidents said, well, we never hear from some of these individuals. And it turns out, we found like already 450 people that are deceased that had and get this, everybody, they had been deceased. Some of them had been deceased since 2004. And we hadn't had the technology and the access with the VA system to actually be able to ever go in and cross-reference. And so I'm not shocked. The American Legion, the VFW, the other organizations, as Don said, are struggling. My gosh, the VFW is closing, 12 to 15 posts every month. If you drop from 1.8 million to 1.1 million, well, you got a problem. And so we're not alone in this struggle, but we are looking at, that the $25 dues was, I guess you could say, an experiment. And if it was like generating, hundreds of new blind members, then the experiment worked. But after 3 years, like I said, we're at 6,800. And in 2012, when I left for 2013, when I left headquarters, we had a pretty close to 12,000 members. And so that is a close to 50% drop.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't want to start World War III here today, but I could tell you that my friends who are ophthalmologists who've been practicing ophthalmology for 30 years will tell you there's good news and then there's bad news. The good news is Dr. Glenn Cockerman, again, who's been practicing ophthalmology since 1980, said that when he was in his new, role as an ophthalmologist, he had the bad news of telling people you're going to go blind in 2 years from your glaucoma, or you're going to go blind in 2 years from your macular degeneration, or you're going to go blind from your diabetic retinopathy in 6 months. I mean, literally. And he said, now, because of the advances in medicines, the advances in microsurgery, the advances in research, he says when he has his clinic at the VA hospital in Palo Alto now, he rarely in a 1 month period will tell anybody that they're really going to go, blind like 2,400 or that type of vision loss. What they got is low vision, 2,100. And so, we can keep the forever, ever battle. But, Vietnam Veterans of America, they put together a committee on what they're going to do because they've been losing so many Vietnam veterans. And December 28th, 2028, they're going to close the doors. They won't exist. Why?
Wow.
Because the members are projected demographics, reality. They're not going to have the members, and I don't want that to happen. We've had a lot of really dedicated people. The people on this call today. I've got a great board of directors that's putting in countless hours, to do things like you heard today. We've got the Guide Dog Committee. We've got the Women's Veterans Committee. We're trying to explore everything we can, but at the end of the day, you have to, the old joke when they arrested Al Capone in Chicago once, a sheriff asked him, "Why do you keep robbing the banks?" "Well, gee, that's where the money is." Well, if you want to find new members, you better start think about how can we find new members of different categories. Blind rehab service, some of you should know if you talk to your VIS, they just enrolled under the continuum of care 41,000 low vision veterans. The optometry service in the VA felt that these individuals were not getting the proper equipment and training. And if their vision did get worse, they shouldn't be shocked by the term, "We're going to refer you to a VIST and we're going to refer you to a blind rehab specialist." And so the VIST roster went from 40,000 to 81,000. And so there's a lot that the blind rehab service and the VIS and the low vision optometrists are working on right now as we speak. But the VA certainly realized that there's a continuity of care that's important. And I feel the same way that people who are losing their vision slower than they used to probably would benefit from the things that we could offer them. And so anyway, that's, I'd end it there. But we're going to look at the dues. We'll look at some other things and pray that we all that are on this call and a lot of our other BVA members and their caregivers are all able to get to St. Louis in August of 2021.
So Mr. Phil Ferris from, I think he's from the Washington Regional Group. Phil, thanks for the comment here in the chat. He says, thanks to all for this forum. Regarding the question regarding building BVA membership roles, having attended many national conventions and seen so few members able to experience them, I'm tossing around promoting regular regional blind expos hosted by a BVA regional group, but open to community-wide blind people. Both quality speakers and quality events that reward the attendees would draw multitudes. Yes, the effort to host these is monumental and so far a showstopper. So that's one idea, one input there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's Don, and you're really looking at things from a vision that I have as well, from what I've seen as successful. And it's going to be one of those things that the board and again the membership will look at. Do we look at shifting towards those regionally based? You know, it is a new approach to what goes on out in this sector, and we cannot continue to operate from such an antiquated model. BVA was successful for 75 years, but the model might need to shift, and regionally based opportunities for engagement and collaboration, building synergy with sister organizations could be a phenomenal concept for us. So I love it. And again, I just challenge you, stay active, stay engaged, and help us map out those potential opportunities.
Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Hello? Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. We're missing something. I'm Henry Harding of the BVA here in Memphis. If you put it on the media, you let people know. This guy's walking around here, like you said, going 2 years, ain't coming to the VA. There are a lot of men, veterans out there that need our help. If you give them the help, say you go put it on television, put an ad on television, they can listen though they are going blind. If you, like you said, put a regional blind fit just in your in every region, if every region stepped up, we could do a whole lot more. Because see, that way they'll leave there and go out and get somebody else to do something. We just got to group and public relation this blind. If you don't public relation, it's gonna slowly back. You got to get out. I'm the chaplain. I'm gonna start going to churches and ask them, is anybody in here blind that's a veteran? That's where they are. They don't want, they scared. Some of them are scared to go to the VA. But if we do a public relations, you can go and get some people. Like you said, at one point we had 6,000. Now it's done went down. But we can, if we go out there and beat the bushes, we can find people. Like the gentleman said about this regional blind veterans thing.
Okay. Yep. It's a phenomenal concept. And to your point, aside from just the faith-based community, and it's Don Overton again, you know, one of the things that I found highly successful in different parts of the country was, you know, I would always put together Saturday morning breakfast. There was nothing that said anybody had to show up, but it was open to any veteran. And we'd partner with diners in the area. And it was just an opportunity for folks to get together and break bread and collaborate. And there's a safety net there. And so there's unique opportunities. The only other thing I want to share with you is we are looking at assessing. You know, we've run public service announcements via different mediums before, whether radio and others. We're continuing to explore those and look at the best ways forward to try to get that messaging out. But I think it's great. By all means, everybody needs to be an advocate. That's why every single member of this organization matters and is so important, because you really are the face of this organization, and your ability to walk out and engage in your local community is going to be that hand that pulls that next veteran forward and helps show them the light forward. So thank you for those comments.
Stuart, this right here, can I make a quick contribution to that?
Well, do we have anybody else who would like to? We've gone about 30 minutes over what we expected, which I think that's a good sign that this has been a successful event. Does anybody else have any other comments or
Yes.
questions?
Yeah, this is, yeah. Ray Hale.
Oh, Ray.
Yeah, real quick, because you might have some. Phil is from Spokane Inland Empire and is a true asset. Phil and I engaged in I don't know, White Cane, I believe that's what it was. We were in the Spokane VA, and the VA, you had employees there didn't even know the BVA existed. They don't even know what a VIST is. And so, you know, Phil clearly understands, and he's very involved in the community about how to get out in the community and get the word out. But at the same time, we have within the VA, we don't have the knowledge that we even exist. You know, so I make the point. I mean, that's where our veterans go for health care, and they come through that door. And so.
And Ray, it's Don. And again, I charge and task everybody out there. Be that change agent in your community. Get out there, be loud and be proud. Whether you're walking with a guide dog, whether you have a long white cane, or whether you're using the assistance of a loved one, be loud and be proud, and help educate the community. Take every opportunity you can to help individuals understand that, you know, you might do things differently. We're all differently abled as a result of our vision loss, but you know, we welcome the opportunity. And look, we all experience this. Everybody deals with it. Folks are afraid of what they don't understand, and a lot of people don't understand blindness. Encourage them. Close your eyes and just, you know, take in what I'm taking in and experiencing right now. But you all know what it's like. You tell somebody you're blind and they start yelling at you because they figure if you're blind, you can't hear either. So, you know, those are the challenges, but it's up to us to educate.
Daryl Goldsmith again, if possible.
You're trouble there, Marine. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, this may be controversial trouble, but this has been on my mind since I began in the BVA back in the late 1900s. Excuse me. The original BVA emblem, insignia, consisted of a black and a white hand shaking, a Star of David, and a cross. And to me, that represents we are representative of everyone equally. Currently this goes actually to our 16,017,800,000 national chaplain, who I believe we should be non-denominational in our prayer. I'm a devout Christian myself, but when we just do a prayer at the beginning of any of our meetings or whatever, and like in this case, in the name of Jesus, which is my faith. But that excludes Buddhist, Muslim, Hindu, whatever you are. And that could be offensive and turn others off who may be blinded veterans, because the military did not discriminate on who served this country. So I just like to put that out there, to be not to exclude anyone, or even to give the opportunity for a rabbi or anyone else to give a prayer if we're going to be single out like that. So just want to put that out there, that we do not be or to be non-denominational and equal on all platforms.
Yeah, and Daryl, it's Don. I'll jump in really quick. One of the things that I commend Chaplain Lester and the folks out there that have engaged, not just with the Department of Veterans Affairs chaplaincy program, but they've been working, and they're working very, very hard to build out a chaplaincy committee, really a group of chaplains across the country. And it's hard work, but they're doing the best that they can. And that's the intent of that group, is to make sure that we're being inclusive of everyone, that we do have those opportunities. And so I certainly don't want to speak for Dr. Lester or the work that they're putting together, but that is one of the goals, is to make sure that we have all of those individuals. I'm blessed from the position that I sit in, because I have the unique opportunity to work with so many different individuals across the federal sector, but also through our corporate sector and our relationship with folks such as Orcam out of Israel. And so I've been a part of their families now celebrating Hanukkah for the last several days, and they're educating me through their faith. And so there's just so many unique opportunities. So it's a point well taken. I think the organization is striving to achieve that. And so with that, again, it's a great point.
Okay, this is Paul Mims, and you know you can't get by without hearing from me, but I wanted to build on what.
Hold on, Paul. I can find a mute button. Hang on.
Okay, go ahead.
Eclipse.
Yeah. Well, I had to say something since Daryl's talked twice, but I totally agree with what Daryl's saying. I wanted to build on that. And, some of the things that Don has said, I wanted to also build on those. And the guy was talking about PR. I think what I have to say or suggest builds on all of those comments. And that is that we have survived for 75 years, 75 and a half, as Stuart said, as an organization. And I think we are, just now highly cognizant of how badly we need to do things differently. Because what we used to do most of the time during those 75 years is not working anymore. And so one important thing that we can look at, and Don has been looking at it, and that is the programs that we have, and trying to update those programs to where they're appealing to new members. If you're going to build a better mousetrap, you got to get the mice to come. And so if you're not going to trap them to kill them, we can trap them in order to entice them and empower them too. And so it gets to be a matter of just being able to draw people to us and then satisfy them when they get here.
Sure.
And right now, I think a lot of what we used to do is a turnoff to some of the younger people for sure. And so we need to have a positive image, and we're going to need to build it. In this case, I think rebuild it so that our image is viewed as positive by people that we want to look at us. And so I think if we keep that in mind as we go, that, what used to work and what's not working anymore. Okay. And now what can work? So we've got as Don said, a lot of work to do. And I think that there's a lot of different ways that we'll be doing that work. But I think that what we need to keep in mind is, whether what we're still works, and if it doesn't, what will work.
Thank you, Paul.
I would like to have permission to speak.
Okay.
I have my hand raised.
So do I. I'll wait till after you, miss.
Thank you. My name is Yannicka Trent, and as a newly blinded veteran, I would like to see if I can shed a little bit of light on what you're asking and talking about. So when you wake up blind, you're a little bit traumatized, And so I lost my vision 2 years ago in September, and I woke up blind. And so the first thing you're going to do, because, you know, I'm already 100%, disabled veteran. And so none of that was from vision. And so the first thing you do is you're going to go to the VA. And so therefore, I go there and, you know, they rush me over to Duke. And my only insurance, of course, is the VA. And the VA basically blocked me out and would not accept my blindness. Now, of course, I didn't want to accept my blindness either, because who does? But at the same time, I lived alone and I couldn't see anything. And so I was traumatized all over again, trying to get into the VA system for them to accept my blindness. I couldn't get any assistance. I couldn't get any help with anything. If it was not for my BVA regional members, if it wasn't for, you know, the president, Ray Smith and Monaca Gilmore, I would still be like out here lost somewhere, because they did not like let me alone, because I just balled up in a corner. And I was that traumatized. I just kind of left everything alone and balled up in a corner. They did not leave me alone. Ray Smith just kept on me and he wouldn't let me alone, and kept pulling me out, saying, no, you need to do this. You need to go there. You know, Monica was saying, you need to go to this conference. And so these people kept on me. And if they had not done that, I don't know where I would have been. And, you know, but I had to fight the VA system to actually be acknowledged as a blinded person, veteran, anything. And so, and I'm wondering, I was like, what do they think I want from them? They can't give me any more money. I just want to see, I just want help to get around my house. I just want my independence back. So I felt like I was begging them to tell me that I was blind, but I also didn't want to acknowledge that I was blind either. So I'm fighting myself, I'm fighting them, and they're fighting me. And so it was this vicious circle. So I think that a lot of veterans may be in that turmoil as well. So when you're in that, the last thing you want to do is go back to the VA or to deal with anything dealing with being blind. And so, you know, that could be part of the issue there. So when you're approaching a veteran about anything blinded, you know, yes, it's a sensitive situation, and yes, you might want to have something to entice them with, but it's the friendship and it's the determination that would probably get them here and keep them here.
Great points. Yeah, no, and great points. It's Don Overton. Welcome to the family. I'm glad that you were in the Mid-Atlantic Regional Group, because you have some incredible leaders in that group. And we look forward to you being a part of, hopefully, you know, paying that forward to that next veteran, because we all experience what it is to go through that grief, that anger phase. We all cycle through those together. And our hopes and what we shared earlier about these upcoming sessions starting in the new year, we want to address all of that, those grief groups, the anger groups. We want to put together those programs so everybody can work through this together. So points well taken, and challenges that we all need to find ways to work through. So thank you so much for sharing.
Yes, this is Warner Murray, former president, New York Regional Group. I have a comment. One of them is when they have the town hall meetings, and with the undersecretary, which is, we talking about his undersecretary for the veterans, they have people, you call in, you participate, but the questions, I don't know if they're, could you find out, or is there some type of a program or already set where you can have your questions answered? Because I've been on 3 of them, and I never get engaged or anything as of that nature with the conversation other than listening. Now, this has been the first time that I have been able to engage. Of course, this is my BVA, so I will expect that. And so I was trying to find out, you know, could you find out a way when they do have those town hall meetings with the undersecretary, at least here in New York, you know, is there a way that they have the questions already set? Do you call in earlier? or, how can we get them engaged? And my second part to that is when the gentleman said that we have to reach out and be an advocate. I've always been an advocate. I usually try to I always wear things that represent, I'm Army man, Army strong. I always represent showing that I was in the military, the United States forces, one of them. And so that I will be recognized. They always give me my due. And I was thinking that we probably, it would be good for all the BVA members to all the time for us to probably wear some type of label with the BVA, but large, every time we go somewhere, even when we address, maybe the pen to be a little large, so people can always say, well, what does that mean? Like they asked me, what was that? Then I said, that's Blinded Veterans Association, and explain it to them. And then maybe that way they will get more interested. And the last thing is about the radio. Even if we had put, like he said, if we put some advertisement on the radio, some of the local stations in all these states, I'm quite sure that we have blinded veterans who listen, and then maybe it will prick their conscience and draw some interest, and maybe they will call or say, hey, let me check this out. I was just thinking that might be another way of reaching out to get some time on TV. As far as I heard, it costs a lot, and radio might be a little less. So those were some of the things that I just wanted to bring up. And plus all the other points that they brought up, I thought that was very valid and worthy.
They won't let you. They won't let you talk, Warner, because you're a troublemaker.
Stop, Mr. Murray. It's Don Overton. Yeah. So Dr. Lawrence's town halls are oftentimes extremely limited. If you have specific questions that you need addressed by the undersecretary level, you can direct those to Mr. Jim Vale here, our National Service Director. Jim can go through Mike Stoddard, the Undersecretary's VSO liaison, and we can have them, one of two things. We can make sure that your question does get addressed during a subsequent town hall, so we can feed it to them in advance, or we can get it addressed for you as a standalone from the Undersecretary. So it can be challenging just given the volume of those town halls with Dr. Lawrence, but we're happy to facilitate that. Everything else was valid. We're looking at some new merchandise that we want to make available and get it up onto the website for direct orders so that we can advertise the organization. And Stuart and I are doing comprehensive analysis and evaluation of the public service announcements that BVA has been running in the past, as well as, what we always have to look at is being good stewards of not just our donor dollars, but also of our member dollars. So sometimes if we're not seeing a return on those investments, then we have to begin to pull some of those segments. So we're analyzing all of that. Again, all very, very valid points. We appreciate you. And, I'm up in your neck of the woods, so I'm still looking forward to running into you up, I'm a little bit across the border in Connecticut when I'm at my home, but I'll come see you in New York at some point, sir.
All right. I appreciate it. All right.
Current.
And Stuart Nelson is a good man. He's a very good man. I met him in Kentucky, and he's doing a good job for the organization. He really is.
Phenomenal. Thank you for saying
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Is this going to be a regular once a month town hall meeting with the BVA?
We're going to open up multiple platforms. We'll talk with the board, and we want to make it, obviously this one we stayed open to look at the levels of engagement. There'll be different program offerings. We'll get together and regroup after this. That gets determined by the board of directors. So once the board's able to meet, they'll make a determination on how they want to proceed with these. And then we'll facilitate that from the staff perspective once they direct us on what they feel is the best to do.
Okay, one other question. Would there be an easier way to link into the line instead of all those numbers? Like the learning class that we have, some of the virtual classes is only like 4 numbers after you dial the number.
Yeah, Zoom, it depends on how you're coming in. Are you coming in on a mobile device or on a landline telephone, sir?
No, landline.
Yeah, landline can be the challenge. The beauty of these platforms is they look at technology. So if you're on a mobile, you literally tap yeah, you literally tap and it keys the codes in and everything for you. So there is a little bit of a challenge with some of these, you know, we just don't have control over that.
Okay, okay.
But, you know, if I can speak to that, you know, there's at least 3 ways to get in, you know, for a mobile device. This is Paul Mims, a mobile device, your PC, and of course, dialing in on a landline. And the fourth one is, you know, when you look at a smartphone, you can have the Zoom app, or you can dial in the number on your smartphone as well. One thing I think that we might jump back to, Don, is running some recordings, if you will, of some of the educational sessions we had on Zoom. Some people missed it the first time around. I think we should run that frequently.
They're on Facebook, so they're on our social media pages. So those of you that are using social media, those sessions are there. We also do have the directory that you can link through the website to our YouTube channel, which has the playlists on YouTube. So they are all recorded. We record these sessions, so they are. And what we will do is we will try to prominently feature them so folks can access them more easily as well, Paul. So we'll look at that,
Yeah,
sir.
and that was my point, is that you point people to them.
Roger
They're
that.
looking for something they don't there.
Roger that. You can't miss them on Facebook. They're the first thing that pops up on our Facebook page.
Okay. Well, since I'm a sucker and a loser, I don't go to Facebook. So
well, Stuart, I think we might have hit the point of exhaustion.
We finally, I think we finally exhausted everybody. I thank you very much, everyone who's attended, and especially I want to thank in particular, you know, Dr. Lester and Tom, Joe McNeil, Monica, Ray, Ken for presenting, and Patty and Jim and Don, especially for you for taking all the questions. Thank you guys for coming, and have a really happy holiday season, even though it's a little different than usual. Hopefully it's a great season of the year. You can spend time maybe just even on Zoom with your family. Thank you very much, and we look forward to having more of these in the future. Thanks everybody for being with us.